Y'all know that one scene from Aliens where Bishop brings that second ship down from the Sulaco? It's a beautiful scene for one thing, but of course I was wondering if I could do the same thing in Spenji's. All I need is 2 stations and a ship. So remote piloting a ship is pretty straightforward, and I'd done the same thing many times before, so to make this just a little more interesting, I wanted to try messing with the laser antenna, something I've used maybe once. For this setup I'm using the Wang ground station, and will remote call a ship down from Wang space station. Wang space station has an enclosed hangar, so this works for this experiment. I'm going with the iCarly Model A from the Space Mingler series for this, since that has a ceiling-mounted connector and it fits in the hangar with some wiggle room. I modified the hangar a tad to accommodate the action of moving the ship outside and away from the station when I enable the autopilot. This will be done with the dual piston design on the ceiling. To keep an eye on things, I have a camera on the back wall. Regarding the ship itself, iCarly never had a remote, so I added that along with some other small adjustments to make the process easier to perform. As for the remote connection, I wanted to make the laser antenna relevant here, so I moved the station 75 kilometers away, fully outside the maximum range of the Manila large grid antenna. There is the question of whether the overlap range of Wang Space Station's regular antennas would allow me to continue connection to the iCarly. I was somewhat sure they would still work, and after testing, I did verify that since I'd be connected via laser to the space station, the station's normal antennas would still retain connection. For the aspect of making this interesting, I reverted all the space station's antennas back to a 5-kilometer range to create a dead zone where the iCarly would be on her own. I would then try after a few minutes and see if she reached the 50-kilometer range. Also, after a test, I found it is a two-way antenna requirement, meaning that even though my ground station goes out 50 kilometers, I would not get a return signal from the iCarly if her antenna didn't also go 50 kilometers, so both need that range. Our first step will be to establish connection to our space station's laser antenna. I'm not sure you can get this any other way other than copying the cords direct from the antenna, so I'll presume in the case of copying the alien scene, Bishop would have the connection procedures and any other security codes to connect, so I'll just paste this in. After alignment, we're now connected. Next step, we'll begin the station's ship launch procedure. Opening the hangar doors. Now we extend the ship out of the hangar. To avoid the ship prematurely attempting to head down once thrusters are enabled and causing jerky motions on the pistons, we'll be enabling autopilot and disconnecting the dorsal connector at the same time with a timer block, which will be last. So next we'll enable ion and hydro thrusters. Next we'll need to supply iCarly's remote with the coordinates for the ground station. Lastly, we'll activate the launch timer. And away she goes. Since we won't have connection to iCarly for a bit, let's retract the launch piston, fold away the connector, and close the hangar. Now we'll periodically monitor the remote connections for iCarly. See, the laser antenna would be most valuable for stations on other planets where it'd be absurd to expect regular antenna connection, but obviously for this experiment, we don't want to be waiting long for this ship. There we go, iCarly's there. Now, autopilot should coast itself the rest of the way in and doesn't need our assistance, but we'll go ahead and take control just because. I think we can go ahead and disable ions and hydros and enable atmosphere thrusters at this point. and there, connect up, turn off thrusters and lights, and there we go. So that's it, pretty straightforward. If you all have any questions or comments on any aspect, do let me know in the comments, and thank you all for watching.